Kamal, I don't know why you have me on this panel. This is a very intimidating
Just to
panel.
make my life difficult.
Let me just just a couple of general points. First is, governments have three functions. They tax, they spend, and they regulate. And I've come to the conclusion that regulation is the least understood and the most difficult to get right. And what I've discovered is everywhere, and including my country in Bangladesh, that we've gone from a socialist state to a regulatory state, and we've forgotten to create the markets that the regulators are supposed to regulate. I think that if we spend more time creating the markets, you'll find that regulators will, first of all, have an easier job to do, and you won't replace a planned state with a regulatory state. So I think the fact that we're not seeing the reforms on contract is basically because the state is managing itself. The market is not pushing the state to change the world. We need to make markets work far more in South Asia for us to really have an impact. And I think regulatory reform must go hand in hand with market reform. I'll give you an example. Yeah. In Manila, they decided to move Manila water into a public-private partnership. So they started off with Manila. It's a giant city, right? We're talking millions of people, Lala, Delhi, and Mumbai. Right. So they decided that they would do what Melbourne did. Instead of one water utility, they decided to cut literally the pipes to create two water utilities. Yeah. Because they said a regulator will be unable to manage one giant, but may be able to do a comparison between the two. So in effect, where a monopoly exists, yeah, you're trying to create a market and make the life of regulator easier. Second is you bring in citizens' involvement in the regulatory process. A citizen knows that northern Manila is delivering water better than southern Manila, and that begins to create a pressure. And I think that this tension between not creating markets but moving from a planned economy to a regulatory state is probably one of the reasons why you don't see the reforms that you ought to see in contracts and so on.
But let me take that point.